Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. We're on the road here. Thanks for supporting us. We just did a bunch of live shows in Chicago at the Zanies in Rosemont. Thank you for those who came out. We got more tour dates. I'm headlining Flappers in Burbank, April 28th. Ron Placona's on that show. April 29th and 30th, I'm headlining the Ventura Harbor Comedy Club in Ventura, California. And then Ron Placona and I are doing our, whatever we're calling it, progressive comedy tour in the Pacific Northwest. July 28th, we're in Portland. July 29th, we're in Seattle. July 30th, we are in Vancouver, Canada. Our first time to those cities. So go to, tickets are all at grahamelwood.com. So we've been talking a lot on this show about what's happening in the Ukraine and the Western media's coverage of it. And I'm going to show you this NPR article that is only covering, again, part of the story. And they're saying that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is just Putin needs oil and stuff like that. And I'm not going to deny that that's a big export. Oil and weapons are Russia's two big exports, right? So, but again, it's very slanted. And we're not talking about how, the number one polluter in the world is the United States military. Yep. Yes, it is. We have 800 bases all over the world. Russia doesn't have that many bases. So we're the number one contributor. But again, typical of the Western media and the coverage of the Russian-Ukraine conflict of this war, it's just so one-sided. And I'm sure Russia is putting out its own one-sided propaganda. You can't call it a war in Russia. You have to say it's a special military operation. But as we know, the first casualty of war is the truth. So here's NPR. This is NPR. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is a fossil fuel war, climate scientist says. Now, that I'm already supportive of because we are on borrowed time. The IPCC came out with a report in March that said things are not good. They came out with another one in April, like literally several weeks later, and it said, oh, it's even worse. So there was a leading climate scientist, Svetlana Krakowska, was in Kiev, and she was working on a landmark UN climate report. Then the missiles came. All right. So the Russian missiles and bombs started landing in her city. Colleagues offered to help her escape, but she stayed trying to continue her climate research. The climate warning fossil fuels have enabled Russia's invasion. With our demand to put this embargo on Russian fossil fuels, it directly connected because fossil fuels and money then go directly to the Putin regime, to Russia, and it funds actually the war against Ukraine, said Krakowska. Krakowska. I'm sorry. Oh, is the head of the Applied Climatology Laboratory at Ukraine's Hydrometeorological Institute. I know I butchered that word. I hope that for people, it will be clear that if we cut this oil and gas to Russia, they will make a very good choice actually to stop this aggression and stop the impact to the climate system. So 2 in 1, in fact. President Biden and the U.S. instituted a import ban on Russian oil, liquefied natural gas, and coal in early March after Russia's invasion. According to a White House statement, the U.S. imported nearly 700,000 barrels a day of crude oil and refined petroleum products from Russia last year. Okay, hold on. Let's just, we're already neck deep in half truths. Okay, wars are bad for the environment. I'm against all war. I don't like what Russia and Putin is doing in the Ukraine. Okay, let me just say that up top. But I did a video before the invasion when everything was kind of ramping up, like, I think it was around January, February, showing how this NPR and this climate study is like acting as though America has no part in climate change. So let's just put a couple of facts into this NPR article that are not there, which is Russia has a pipeline to Germany, and we said we don't want Germany we want to hurt Russia financially. So one of the ways we want to hurt Russia financially is to force Western Europe to buy American oil and natural gas, which is even more expensive than the oil and natural gas they're getting from Russia. So that just happened to not, couldn't, I guess they don't have Google over at NPR. It's tough to research an article and get a full picture. So there's that. Then there's and we've talked about Ukraine almost every week since it happened, how we just did a whole big funding bill, $1.5 trillion, and it's all this money for our military. We're sending all this military aid to the Ukraine. No COVID relief. We don't have a real Green New Deal. The Build Back Better plan has little stuff in there to do stuff for climate, like, oh, we're going to build more, electric cars and electric vehicle charging. Okay. But let's, I'm sorry, NPR. You act as though America just, again, it's always this like innocent bystander and crazy Putin's out of control. Is he doing some of this for oil? Okay, let's say everything about what NPR said in that article about Putin's motives and what the Western media is, it's all Putin's just doing it for oil. I don't know. I'm thinking of a country. It rhymes with Iraq. Why did we go into Iraq? Oh, is it oil? Every time somebody went off the petrodollar, Saddam, Gaddafi in Libya, we go after them. So it'd be really great if the NPR actually understood geopolitics and where the United States empire, which has been bullying the crap out of the world with the petrodollar, because our petrodollar is backed by this big, insane military. Nobody spends more on war than the United States does. Every year, it doesn't matter which of these two utterly corrupt parties control the Senate or the Congress or the White House. Every year, bipartisan, across the board, everybody votes for a bigger war budget. Bush got a bigger one every year. Obama got a bigger one every year. Remember when Obama dropped more bombs than Bush? Yeah. Trump got one every year. Democrats who were like, Mr. Trump's awful. Democrats voted for it in Congress and the Senate. And again, Biden. And now the Democrats control the House and the Senate and the White House right now. And it's just rubber stamping war. So it's just weird that they just forgot to cover that in this NPR article. Just all have selective memories, just what they can and cannot remember. The U.S. has leaned on other oil producing nations like Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. Oh man, I got to talk about this. Remember, Chavez he nationalized his oil back in 98, didn't want to give his oil up to the American oil companies. And then after 9/11, Bush called them part of the right. We've been trying to destabilize Venezuela through sanctions. We just said Juan Guaido 2 years ago just stood up and said, I'm the president. And we're like, yes, you are. And then Biden called Maduro because he knows Maduro's actually in power. And nobody in the NPR never talked about that. Oh God, it just drives me nuts. There's so much nonsense here. I can't even get past it. And then Saudi Arabia, they had the Saudis. Some of the 9/11 bombers were from Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Arabians 2 years ago just chopped up Khashoggi, and we're just like, that's bad, but we're okay with it. And this is what this climate scientist said. I understand our human civilization actually depends on energy sources, she said, while citing a UN climate report from the IPCC report, which I've referenced several times, that said changes in human behavior could majorly impact the trajectory of the Earth's temperature. I should say that if we go to this IPCC report, it states very clearly that half of this emission that's been cut just from the demand side. So maybe they just don't need so much fossil fuel, and we can make this transformation much more quickly. Even before the war began, Krakowska said she could see the impacts of climate change in Ukraine. In 2020, we didn't even have winter, which was very unusual. But now we are in this war situation, and it's just very, very difficult to think about climate change and to speak on it in my country. In fact, that's why I started to speak on the international community, just to push them to help us and save the planet. She just said something very interesting, which is, We can't talk about climate change because of this war in Ukraine. CNN and Fox and MSNBC can't be going, oh man, this new IPCC report is so alarming. It's just like IPCC report, and it like scrolls at the bottom, and then, but Ukraine, war is good for business. So it's, again, just more of this, like, they frame it to the Western audience. They frame it to the American audience so that we don't think about these other things. They deliberately omit this stuff. They deliberately only talk about one side of it. Sometimes they just flat out lie, but this is how sophisticated they are. Right? And anyone who thinks, oh, NPR, they're not the evil Fox News. I just want to show you this thing that I've shown you many, many times before. Right? And this is how I talk about how information gets disseminated in our country. Right? Well, first I want to show you this. So all we're talking about, there's Trump getting $2.7 million in 2020 from the defense industry, and there's Biden getting $3.1 million. So there's that. And then I want to show you this. Where is it? Hold on, I just came up with this. There it is. Boom. So let me show you this. There is the propaganda multiplier. So at the top, you see the White House, the CIA, and the Pentagon. Then they feed stories to the AP, Reuters, right? And then those all trickle down. And you see all those. See Fox, New York Times, CNN, NPR is in there. So this is how basically the military industrial complex gets you to think that you have a choice. Like NPR is so much different than Fox News. Okay, in some ways that it is. But when it comes to war, NPR will be saying the same thing. And if NPR and Fox News disagree, it's never about why are we in war, right? Fox News's criticisms of Joe Biden aren't what the hell are we doing in all these wars? Why are we spending? It's never that. It's he's not doing war right. When Trump was in office, CNN and MSNBC said, oh, Trump's not doing war right. Nobody says, why are we spending money on war? Why are we doing all this? And it's because that. See that? See all of those? They control all of it. It's just like, you buy some juice drink and you're like, oh, this is all natural juice. And then you look closely at the bottle and you realize it's, oh, Coca-Cola makes it. So Coke's getting money one way or another. You're getting lied to one way or another when you watch any outlet of the corporate media. And sad to say, democracy now has kind of fallen prey to a lot of that. And when they see something as a powerful voice like TYT or The Intercept, they infiltrate that. There's some good reporting being done in The Intercept, but it's gotten taken advantage of a lot. And so we get misinformation. So that's how they're lying to us and only presenting us part of the story and not there's nowhere in the American media that is holding America accountable. That doesn't exist. And to have a free society, you need free press. And you need a press that actually calls out those in power. That's what a press is supposed to do. But our press is not the watchdogs of power. The press should be the watchdogs of those in power. Now our press, our media, they're the guard dogs of those in power. Because when 5 multinational conglomerates own 95% of all media, they control the message. That's why you come here to watch stuff. Because you got to listen to a guy in his apartment telling this what the truth is. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. The defense industry spent $49 million in 2020 campaign donations to make sure that more wars kept happening. Here we are, and we pushed Russia into it. Don't like what Putin is doing, much to criticize him on, but we can't sit there and criticize Putin and not look at how bad the United States is. The United States, we're the problem. We've caused all of this, and it's all for money. And we could be leading the world in this way that a lot of Americans want to see ourselves in our country. We're the leaders. You know, we're going to help the world. We're the problem. We're run by oligarchs. We talk about Russian oligarchs. What about the oligarchs that run this country? It's a joke. Putin is giving his country propaganda. Okay, so are we. I just read you some. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting what we do, guys. Scroll below is how you can support what we're doing, because we've been demonetized on YouTube for 14 months. They don't want us talking about this. That's why I'm not a regular contributor to NPR or CNN. They don't have me on those shows because they don't want to hear this message, because this message is bad for business. Boeing's not going to buy ad time on a show like this because I'm critical of Boeing. Neither is Shell Oil, neither any of those big corporations. Shave your knuckles for justice. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood, and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a P.O. box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.